Hi everyone, welcome back to Nasedyanka. This is the channel where I talk about Bulgarian history and culture and tradition and faith, more so the Orthodox Christian faith, as it makes up the core of our country. So this is episode 15, part 3. In episode 15, I started with an introduction discussing Bulgarian history, more so the ancient, oldest history dating back as far back as 17,000 years ago. And this is based on the research and article and videos and interviews of Ivan Trenev and some other researchers, which I will mention later when I cover them. But please always check the comment section, because this is where I include the resources that I am translating and then delivering to you guys in the English language from the original language in Bulgarian. So in this episode, part 3, I'm going to talk a little bit about migrations of the Bulgarians, the ancient Bulgarians. And you will begin to connect now the dots and see how Bulgaria actually has affected the rest of the world. So this is going to be a little bit of a longer episode in comparison to my previous two, which the previous two parts in episode 15, which I made to be like 4 to 6 minutes, something like that. Okay, so migrations. During the development of the Bulgarian country of Idel, of which I spoke in parts 1 and 2 in episode 15, part of the population left their ancestral homeland and went to the other lands. The first such case was about 12,000 years ago. At that time, as well as later, Idel was abandoned by several large groups of Bulgarians. One of the Bulgarian groups went to America. Bulgarian words and cultural monuments have been preserved to this day in the languages of the American Indians. Another part of the Bulgarians went to northern China, where they became known as the Xianbians or the Huns. So we will talk about the Bulgarian Huns and Attila and Alp B in later videos in the future. A third group of Bulgarian settlers settled in Central Asia. A fourth group of Bulgarians settled in northern India. A fifth group of Bulgarians settled in the Middle East. So the first settlers were the Arkesh Bulgarians, who had special respect for the spirit of rain and thunder, and therefore they were called after this spirit, Samar, Seber, Deber, Atriach, in other words, Troy or Trojan. Around 10,000 BC, one part of the Bulgarian Debers settled in today's Ukraine. They lived there for a long time under the name Tauri or Tavri, as we call them. Another part of the Bulgarians settled in the Middle East, where they formed the country of Samar or Sumer, initially including huge territories from today's northern Egypt to today's western Iran and the Balkans. In early Sumer or Samar, in that culture, civilization, society, and the country or folklore and politics, the nation, were basically purely Bulgarian. The Bulgarian king priest is depicted on reliefs with the attributes of the ancient celestial belief known as Tengrianism. So that was ancient Bulgarians' monotheistic religion. As I mentioned in part 2, it gave the beginning of all of the other monotheistic religions in the world. Toward the end of the 3rd and 4th millennium BC, Samar or Sumar fell into 5 parts. The first part was the Kingdom of Egypt. The second part was Kresh or Cretan Bulgarian kingdom, under whose rule were the Balkans. Cyprus, whose ancient Bulgarian name was Kubar. Asia Minor, the Bulgarian name of which was Atriach or Troy. The Balistan, which includes Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan. Okay. The third part, was made of the Suvar Bulgarian kingdom in between the Tiger and the Euphrates rivers, which preserved the name Samar Sumer. The fourth part of Bulgarians formed the part which is called Midan or Maidan. This is Western Iran, so it's spelled Migan. And the fifth part is Kafkash, or the Caucasus Bulgarians. The catastrophic flood, described later in the Bible as the Great or the World Flood, destroyed the Bulgarian royal dynasty of Suvar, late Sumer civilization, along with a significant part of the Bulgarian population. This allowed the ancient Arab population of the Sarkhan tribes, which was under their control, to subjugate in the 24th century BC Akkad, Tangra, Kappa or Babylon, and other Bulgarian cities in the region between the Tiger and the Euphrates rivers. In the Bulgarian language, Sarkhan actually means inhabitant of the desert. In the 3rd millennium BC, a second wave of Bulgarians began leaving or migrating the so-called Bilsaga, which was constituting of 5 family lines. The first part of those Bulgarians, or the Bulgarian Bilsaga, also settled in Ukraine. The second part became a part of the Bulgarian kingdom of Crete. The Bilsaga Bulgarians created administrative regions such as Thrace, Macedonia, and Pelasgia. These Bulgarians are known in historical resources and according to the regions in which they lived. So the Thracians, Macedonians, and Pelasgians, according to the regions they occupied, like geographical regions, right? Pelasgians are the old ancient Bulgarian population of today's Greece and the islands of Crete. Pelasgian comes from Belaski or Bel-Asi word. Both words Bel, B-E-L, and Asi, A-S-I, each mean Bulgarians. The Pelasgians so wanted to emphasize and to keep both ancient original names of the Bulgarians. More on the name Asi we'll talk later in future videos. So the third part of the Bulgarian Bilsaga settled in the Caucasus, which is also known as Albanians and Hittites. Albanians and Hittites. I think Hittites, yes, H-I-T-T-I-T-E-S. English language is not an easy one, you guys, especially translating from a complex Bulgarian as Bulgarian is into English. So that's why I'll spell and again include my resources in the comments. And so a fourth part of the Bulgarian Belsaga Bulgarians settled in Central Asia under the name of Saki and Masageti. The Central Asian Bulgarians had already entered India and conquered it. The white Bulgarian race that ruled India remained in history under the name of 5 Pandava brothers. The Bulgarians created the classic Indian script known today as Mahabharata. Maha means big and Bharati means Bulgarians. The Mahabharata is 8 times larger than the Iliad and the Odyssey combined. Part of the Bulgarian ancient knowledge includes yoga from the verb yok, which is a Bulgarian word, by the way, to this date preserved, which means to harness in a yoke. Yoke, we also say like priagom figo fiarem, like to harness, like I said, that's the translation in English. And also the Ayurveda. Ayurvedam, basically in ancient Bulgarian language, means to know or to see. To this day, Veda is the same, I mean, we've preserved the same word in Bulgarian language, vidya, vijdam, the vidya. This is, I'm able to see, to be able to see. And we conjugate it according to who's speaking, how many people are speaking, and so forth. Chakra also means chakruk, vrtящо се колело, which actually, again, it's from Indian language, but it's a Bulgarian word that was implemented in India at that time. It's a common word, again, that has survived to this date. to this day. And I grew up hearing it from common elder Bulgarian women who spinned sheep's wool and knitted socks on a wheel. So chakra means a wheel. It's a spinning wheel. As you all probably, many of you are familiar with the concept of yoga from India, as it has changed a lot over millennia. You can all, imagine. Much has been lost also, but it relates to energy circles that are described in that study. In the study of yoga, and there is much to say about this. I pretty much do not believe much of modern day yogis and yogas. They've been so perverted and so lost over time. But once again, I'm coming back to why are the Bulgarian origins not known throughout our world? It's so, it beats into the eye. It's so obvious. Just if you look into our language to see that those words basically are telling of, where Bulgarians left their imprint. So the Caucasian or the Bulgarian of the Caucasus Mountain region, the Bulgarians in that region, named the Bilsaga Bulgars, who lived between the 3rd and the 2nd millennium BC, captured most of Asia Minor, and they founded the Hetsko, or the Hittite, I guess you guys will say in English, kingdom there. So Hittite is spelled as Hittite, the Hittite kingdom. In the year of 2200, so 2200 BC, they also attacked the Suvar Sumer, and for some time brought it back under the rule of the Bulgarians. But then the Sarkhan dynasties, Akkadians, Assyrians, again occupied Suvar Sumer. Nonetheless, they continued to develop the Bulgarian Sumerian culture. The Balkan Bulgarians, called Bilsaga, founded the so-called Makan or Mycenae, and other city-states or countries. And Mycenae, you would know how to say that word in English. That's spelled by Mycenae. So at the beginning of the 2nd millennium BC, a third wave of Bulgarians started to migrate, which was headed to the Agatar or Waterman clans. The Agatar Bulgarians were the so-called Indo-European group. Because of their ability to build ships and sail on them, the Agatar Bulgarians were called Kimerici or Cimmerians. In old or ancient Bulgarian language, this actually means shipmen, like we say korabnici in modern Bulgarian language. One part of those Agatar Bulgarians occupied nowadays Ukraine. Another part of them conquered the Balkans and subjugated the Seber Bulgarians and the Bilsaga Bulgarians as well. Around 1700 BC, a third part of Bulgarians reached Egypt through Suvar, and so they ruled Egypt for 100 years. In Egyptian historiography, they are actually known as the Hyksos people. The Bulgarian capital of Egypt was called Avaris. That's going back to 1700 BC. And so the Agatar Bulgarians, also the Hyksos Bulgarians of Egypt, civilized Egypt, giving it shipbuilding, sewage, iron, weapons, horses, and chariots. The god Ra, that nowadays people are familiar with, is actually a variation of the Bulgarian monotheistic deity Tang Ra. So there is more information about Bulgarian Egypt later in future videos. So as I've mentioned before, do stay tuned if you're interested in this stuff. Just to continue updating you here on the millennia, what's happening here with the migration. So in the middle of the 2nd millennium BC, there was an earthquake. The volcanic ash and giant waves caused the catastrophic eruption of the volcano on the island of Fera near Crete. And so it killed most of the Bulgarian population of Crete. Atriarch Troia, or Atriarch Troy, who had been included in the Bulgarian kingdom of Crete until then, declared himself its successor. And again, Atriarch Troja, that's spelled as Atriach/Troja. The Agatharian Bulgarians, also known from later sources as Achaeans or Argians, conquered Macon. We call that Mycena, which also in English was translated in my research as Mycena, Mycenae, for your, if you want to do research, that's how to spell it. And basically it weakened Crete and Cyprus. At that point, they founded a proper Bulgarian Mycenaean or Argos kingdom. The Atria or Trojan Bulgarian royal dynasty was founded by the Theberian Bulgarians. They tried to stop the expansion of the Mycenaean Bulgarians, but around the year 1200 BC, the Bulgarian Mycenaean Bulgarians, basically Macon Achaean Bulgarians, captured and destroyed Troy. So with this, I'm going to end here. This is a lot of info. I am the kind of learner that loves a piece of paper and a pen and a highlighter, and I just love taking notes. If you're that kind of learner, feel free to take notes from my videos. If you're not, whatever your style is, let it be. I know I've had some questions about, people have mentioned why I have created my videos the way they are. This format obviously is not a full screen video. They're small, they're short. Clearly, they are not professional. That's on purpose, and that's also part of my lifestyle. I am busy and I do have a full-time job. YouTube is my hobby. And the reason why I chose to keep my videos as partial format and not a full screen format is because most people seem to be into the full screen format, and I really wanted those to stand out. Most people know broadcasted history from schools that exclude Bulgaria. Most people seem to not know where Bulgaria is, let alone that Bulgaria has actually shaped the greatest, the biggest cultures and civilizations in our world as we know them nowadays. So with that in mind, I did feel that that is also part of the message here, that some things seem atypical and they require more information, they require a pause, they require our attention and respect. If we are to really understand history and see how it has been turned upside down for humanity, we actually have to take a stance and take some time to fathom that. So with that, I will let you ponder today's video. I appreciate your time and attention. As always, I know I repeat myself, but for those of you who want to know where I derived those resources, they are in the comment section. Unfortunately, many of those things have not been translated in the English language, and if they have, then they are available in certain libraries. Like, for example, Ivan Trenev has mentioned one of the libraries in Great Britain where it was very difficult for him to obtain a membership, and it's not available to just anyone, but he was able to obtain a membership. And so places like that contain a lot of the information which my video presentations and translations are based on. So if you're eager to do that, go for it, because I'm all for the truth being known in our world. So if you haven't subscribed and you are interested in more information like this, please do so. Yeah, I'll let you go. Stay tuned because I will continue with part 4 from episode 15. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.